going on, everybody? Hope you're having a good day today. You know, we live in a pretty awesome time right now. If you're a backpacker or a aspiring lightweight, ultralight backpacker, there's a ton of companies out right now that are just really doing an amazing job of just continually putting out new gear, lighter weight gear, gear that just does a better job than what we used to have. Just all kinds of companies pushing the envelope, so to speak, to make our lives easier and make it easier to crush those 15, 20 plus mile days, carry sub 15, sub 10 pound base weights, and be comfortable and still have everything you need when you get to camp to not only be comfortable, but to survive whatever Mother Nature's gonna throw at you. So companies out there like Z-Packs, Z-Packs really kind of led the charge years ago at trying to create some very lightweight and ultralight gear for thru hikers. It's guys who come out and do this stuff all the time. Whether it's Outdoor Vitals with their whole gear lineup is centered around ultralight, but still very functional. Durston, the Durston gear. If you haven't heard of the X-Mid tent, it's taken the backpacking world by storm. Just definitely goes to show someone who spends their time really using this gear and really trying to create a product that solves a problem is packs. This is the Kakwa 55 pack. I absolutely love this pack. But the main reason we're here today is a tent from Tarp Tent. So another company out there that this guy has done so many different things with tents and just very unique designs. Tarp Tent, if you've never seen their stuff, I think they're based in California. If you get on their site, they have so many unique different styles of tents that are really cool. They're lightweight, they're functional, they're durable, and they have different price ranges. You can buy the Sil Nylon versions of a lot of their tents, and they're very competitively priced, and they do the job and they do it very well. Or you can get into their lithium line, which is their DCF line. I owned the Tarp Tent Aeon Li, and I really liked it. It was 16 ounces. It did the job for a one-man tent. They market it as being something for a tall 6'8" hiker. I'm 6'2". That would have been a squeeze. It was still just one trekking pole, so it was a pyramid. It came down at an angle. You could sit towards the front of it and you'd be okay. And the difference is in their corners. At the back, each corner had two struts that kind of came to an angle. So the idea is at the back, you had about 12 inches of height, so the fabric wasn't right at your face. But it's still pretty close. It's still pretty cramped. I'm really trying to drop some weight and find the perfect shelter for my upcoming 100-mile section of the Superior Hiking Trail this summer. I could take the Durston tent and it would be fine, but what fun is that, especially to you all watching this, if I just stick with that tent? I've always had my eye on the Tarp Tent Dipole. And this is the Dipole 1. I think this tent has looked very, very interesting to me when I saw it come out last year. And you'll see I'm gonna set it up and I'll show you some of the things about it. Again, this is just Tarp Tent's over-engineering, adding different things to tents. It's a 2-door, 2-vestibule, one-man tent that, again, they say is suitable for hikers up to 7 feet. But there are a couple differences with this that I feel like might make that actually work. So I wanted to get my hands on it. I've always wanted to. We're gonna set it up. This will be kind of a first impressions look and just a tour of it. And I'm gonna use it on some trips and we'll see how it does. This tent only requires 4 stakes to set it up. It really seems like this tent and the Durston X-Mid share some similarities. I've seen some stuff on the internet of the owners of both companies kind of having some back and forth about whose tent is better, which again kind of goes back to my point to start. You can tell guys that own companies like this, they're so passionate about what they do. It just makes it better for all of us. There's so many good options out there. So anyway, It only takes 4 stakes to be able to get it pitched, and they say that it's still a very stable pitch. I brought 2 extra stakes to stake the doors out, and you'll see how that works. But I will say, they give you 4, Tarp Tent gives you 4 of these Easton nano stakes, but they're 8-inch stakes, which is nice because DCF, the biggest benefit to DCF over like sil nylon is it doesn't stretch. So DCF tents benefit from really being able to torque down the tension on your guy lines, and you can't do that with a small flimsy little stake. So they give you the 8-inch ones, which I think is a nice touch. And these are, oh, it doesn't have the weight. I'll put the weight on the screen for each of these, but they're super, super lightweight. And I just added a couple extra stakes, like I said, for the doors. So I'm gonna get this pitched. I'm not gonna record it. There's other videos, and quite honestly, the instructional video that Tarp Tent puts is probably better than anything I would do. So I'm gonna get this thing set up, and then I'll bring you back. We'll do a walk around. I'll get some gear in it, and we'll talk about my thoughts. All right, so there's the initial pitch of the Tarptent Dipole 1. So you can see right out of the gate, the thing that makes this tent unique is that carbon strut right there, which is not perfectly aligned. There we go. There we are. So that carbon strut feature there is one of the things that makes this unique. So this is just with 4 stakes in, and it's got that at either end of the tent. So what it gives you, in theory, what it gives you is a ton of headroom. They're 21 inches. So where your head and feet are gonna be, that tent is way up off of you. So even on a pad, my feet should never have to worry about touching. My head should never touch. I should have plenty of headroom. I will say, with 4 stakes, this thing is really sturdy. I mean, there's a breeze coming through here, and it's really not moving. So if I'm comparing it to the Durston, because that's a pretty close comparison for this tent, I will give ease of setup to the Durston, because just out of the box, without even really knowing how to do that tent, you're able to set it up pretty simply. This one takes a little more fiddling. I still don't think I have it quite right, but I'm gonna keep messing with it. But it is a pretty cool design. I'm excited to see what it's like on the inside. And then the other big difference is those panels at the head and foot. You can open that up, and it's like a mesh window. So the airflow through this tent should be amazing. So as far as trying to reduce condensation, being able to have those open when it's not raining should be awesome, because your head's right there. So all your breath should be going right out that mesh, and it should really help kind of tone down the condensation. And then it's just a sil poly material on the inside when you close it up, so it's waterproof. But the top does kind of, when you pitch it right, those are angled. So even in a rain that's just coming straight down, it shouldn't get in the tent. And you can adjust how open you have them. So I'm gonna mess with it a little more, see if I can't perfect this pitch a little bit. And then we'll get in and show you around. All right, so here's a little walk around of the tent now that it's all set up. As you can see, and that's just a regular Thermarest Uberlight pad in there. My pillow at the end, my hat, just to give you an idea. You got tons of space at the head, plenty of room still at the feet. You can set it up with the poles angled, so they're not in the way of the door, which is nice. And then I've got the ridge line out there too, that you can attach the doors to. But you can pull both doors back, so they're out of your way. And then here's your vents at the head and the foot. So it gives it, you can see all the way through, so you get really good airflow out of it. So it should help with condensation. And this side, I've got the door attached to that line there, so you can keep one shut. That's the Thurston Kakwa 55 pack. Plenty of room in there. for storage. And then you got a whole nother vestibule there. And then here at the end, or the head end rather. So it's a pretty cool design. You know, it's a little different. It took me some fiddling with to get it right, but it is pretty neat. So far I like it. So now we'll climb in the tent, try to show y'all around in there a little bit while I'm in there, and just give you some of my thoughts. All right, so we're in the tent now, and I do like this tent. It's got quite a bit of space. I'm sitting on my pad, and I've got, let's see if I can show you. I mean, tons of room, and I'm not even in the middle of the tent. Plenty of space to be able to move around in. I'm way back here before I hit it. So like where some, I'm trying to find somewhere to sit you, where some of these ultralight trekking pole tents are such an angle, you've got like one spot in the middle where you can sit up, and that's about it. And sometimes that's when you're not even on a pad. So I'm on my Thermarest, I'm on my ultralight pad, and I have tons of space. Let's bring you in here with me, close up. But inside here, you can see outside, leaned up against the pole, under the other vestibule, I got my pack, plenty of space over there. I could put my shoes over there if I wanted to. And then your other vestibule, you've got plenty of room for cooking or getting in and out. You can see down at the foot end here, that's the one of the like the windows or the vents at the end. And then there's one at the head too. And it's just on a little toggle with a line, so you can pull that back up and then just slide the toggle back up and lock that thing up so rain, anything like that can't get in. But for the most part, ideally, that's the perk of this tent. Ideally, you want to leave those open and you get ventilation at both ends. And it's pretty cool for views. Like I can lay down, and again, if you've watched my videos, I'm 6'2", I'm pretty tall, but I can easily lay down. I don't rub anywhere. My feet, I don't know how well you can see. Like, I've got plenty of space. I'm on my pad, so that's stacking my feet on top of each other. I'm not gonna have to worry, sorry, trying to reposition the tripod. I'm not gonna have to worry about like my pad, I'm not gonna have to worry about my quilt touching for condensation. So I think interior space in here, you get a lot. Like, this is definitely not a claustrophobic feeling tent at all. The breeze is awesome because I can have these doors both open, just because the doors don't attach like to a line to where it's required so that the tent still stands. I can have both doors on both sides open and the tent is still perfectly wind stable. I have the extra guy lines out just because you can attach them that way. Like, the door's attached. That way I can have one pulled back and the other one's not just flopping. And there's been a couple good breezes come through here, and it hasn't messed with this tent at all. Like, you can feel there's a breeze now. And other than amazing airflow, we're not having any issues. But it also has, for the tie backs for the door, it has the magnets like the X-Mid does, which I think is the greatest thing ever. I think technically the Tarp Tent series of the Tarp Tent Lithium series were the first ones to do that. But bug nets, one-handed zipper operation, super smooth. And then the magnets make it really easy to be able to just kind of roll this up and then just kind of attach that back to itself with no real issue. So I'm a big fan of that. But just first impressions of it, it's pretty sweet. And you've got, as you can see, I mean, I have plenty of room at the head to store stuff. And I got my hat there. There's plenty of room down at the bottom too, at your feet. If you're the type that likes to store a bunch of gear in your tent, you know, I'll have my phone charger and stuff in here with me, a few little odds and ends pieces, but plenty of space down at the feet, down at the head to be doing that. I've still got plenty of room. You know, I'm not going to come into contact with any of the walls, and those are things you worry about in a one-man tent, especially when you're taller. So it's even got little mitten hooks up here, so you could attach a little line, like a little clothesline, to hang like socks to dry out, or I'll probably hang a little piece of line to hang like my light or something from up there. But just really first impressions, that's about all I can say. I mean, I haven't had it out on a trip yet. I still need to kind of mess with the setup of it. It took some time to get it right. I mean, the way it's sitting right now, it would be perfectly fine in a storm or something. I wouldn't be worried about it. I wouldn't be worried about rain or anything getting in it. But it does take a little bit more fiddling to get perfect. So next thing we got to do is I got to get it out on an overnight. So we'll see how it does. You know, I'm really trying to nail down everything for this section hike of the Superior Hiking Trail. Just cut weight where I can. But, you know, I want to save weight. I definitely go ultralight where it's possible, but at the same time, I want it to be functional. I do have maybe two concerns with it. One is just the overall kind of fiddling it takes to get it set up perfect. But I think that'll come with time. So I'm not ultra worried about that. The other concern is just the vestibules are kind of small. And a lot of times I like to cook in the vestibules of my tent. I don't think they're too small to cook in. I think it'll be okay. But to get decent space out of them, you do have to use these other ridge lines. With just the 4-stake pitch, you really have very, very tiny vestibules. Like, the tent will be fine, but to try to store gear in it or to cook in it or something, I don't think it would work very well. Those are really my only two concerns with it. So other than that, you know, it's a nice tent. Durability wise, I have zero concerns. Tarp Tent stuff is top notch when it comes to that. These guys know what they're doing when they build a tent. Everything they do is for a purpose. The quality of the stitching, everything is solid. Everything is seam taped. You know, with DCF, it's got to be taped. It all comes that way, so I don't have to worry about anything needing extra seam sealant or anything like that. There's a pretty good breeze going now, and the only thing that's moving is the doors because they're tied back. But if I had these locked down, we'd be fine. The floor of the tent is DCF, so that was one thing on the Durston tent or the Gossamer Gear DCF tents. They still use a real thin, like, sil nylon for the floor, which does help with the weight and does help a little bit with packability. But then you have to carry a footprint. I mean, I guess you don't have to, but you run more risk of damaging it with this, and it's a heavier DCF. Like, the fabric for the fly and the body is a 0.55 ounce per square yard, I think is how they measure the DCF. I'll put the link to it on Tarp Tent so you can check it for sure. Same type of DCF that like Z-Packs uses, or pretty much any of these companies. But the floor is thicker. I think it's like an ounce, so it's a much heavier DCF. So you really don't have to worry about a footprint for it. You know, DCF is not this indestructible material. It is puncture and abrasion susceptible, but you can just throw some tape on it a lot easier than like a sil nylon or something like that. So they even send you a couple of patches of DCF repair tape. So if I was to put a hole in this, you can just tape it and it'll be fine. So I just wanted to get this thing out and set it up, see what I think of it. Make sure I didn't hate it when I set it up and just immediately want to send it back. But I think I like it. We're gonna take it on some trips and we're gonna try it out. That's it for this video. Hope you got something out of it. If you're looking at this tent, there's not a ton of videos on it. It's different. It's got some extra features, but I think they're gonna be awesome. So hopefully you got something out of this. If you did, give the video a like, drop a comment, subscribe. We're knocking on the door of 1,000 subscribers. That's amazing. And you can see this tent in action. Thanks for watching.